And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Great to be here. I'm not going to apologize. I always say I'm not going to apologize. I end up apologizing. We were not live last week. Could not make it. Had to work doing something else. But I do appreciate all the nasty emails. Just want to thank you for that, by the way. We work our balls off here to give you guys a absolutely free broadcast. And I'm glad that you miss it. But, you'll catch up next week. Well, watch an archive. Go to YouTube. Watch a video. If you're really that attached to the program, which we appreciate it that you are, I have other things to do, unfortunately. I know that you guys are like, well, it's a once-a-week show. Believe me. What I do and what Joe Tillman does during the week is an insane amount of work. So if you really had any concept of what I had to do, at least in my career and in my life, and trying to deal with people in the industry, help patients who feel as though they have no hope in life, answer phone calls, deal with media, and just plain work, trying to run a business, it's a lot. And believe me, I'm not complaining. I'm in a very fortunate position. But don't think there's a day that doesn't go by that I don't have to work my balls off just so I could sit behind this mic and give you guys this free broadcast. 888-659-3727. I'm going to pot up Joe Tillman right away here. Joe, how are you, man?
I'm good, but I don't see why you had to talk to me about my email I sent to you.
I see where you went there with that.
I get it. We couldn't do the show. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Jeez.
That's true, actually. He's the only guy that actually complains. That's the sad part.
Oh, shit, or the truth.
Anyway, listen. If you're new to the broadcast, don't know who we are, what I do, who I am, who this guy is over on my right, I guess. I'm a consumer advocate for men and women dealing with hair loss, the author of The Bald Truth and the Truth About Women's Hair Loss, a guy who's been dealing with hair loss most of his life for about 3 decades. And I know if you are happen to be watching this broadcast, you're probably thinking, wait a second, this guy's got hair on his head. I do. I'm very grateful that I do. It just took me 25 minutes to make it look this way. And but the reason I do is because I was lucky enough to start FDA-approved medication at a relatively young age, pretty early on in my hair loss process. That drug is now marketed as Propecia. For me, it was a life-changing event. There's no doubt. I am going to be 51 years old. And yes, I'm pulling the old Shambooey. There is a quasi-comb-over with a ton of hairspray, paint the back of my head. I have tried, partial hair systems. I did everything I possibly could. Now my drug of choice in this business is, paint. I like to paint. The paint works for me, and the hairspray. But it doesn't mean that I wouldn't wear. It doesn't mean that I haven't worn. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't end up having a hair transplant if the time was right. It just means that I do what's best for me to feel comfortable in my own skin. And that's what this is all about. None of this is one size fits all. Joe Tillman, on the other hand, besides going through everything that I went through as a young man, he actually started to bald at a much more rapid rate earlier than I did. And he made the mistake of going in for a hair transplant before he was really a candidate for surgical hair restoration. That's how he got his foot in the door in his career, by really fucking up. But that's bad news for him because he had to live with, a pretty pluggy hairline as a young man. But it definitely built a lot of character. It made you the person you are today, I'll tell you that.
Made me a character.
That is true as well.
I'm being told.
Yeah, no, that's true as well. You definitely had to overcompensate for the botch job.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
I've said this for years. You do one of two things when you deal with a really bad hair transplant. Is you either retreat and become like a hermit. I've talked to guys that have turned down job promotions because they might be warehouse personnel where they can wear a ball cap, and they get the big promotion into the office upstairs, and they turn it down because they can't deal without their hat.
They completely change their career path because of their hair loss, and that's what Joe from Staten Island did.
Exactly, yeah. And there's the withdrawal.
Do you know Joe has an MBA?
Yes, I knew that.
Not NBA, an MBA.
If he had an MBA, then
yeah. And he chose to be a cop because he couldn't deal with the business world.
Right.
And he just wanted to wear a hat all day.
And then you have the 180, which is what I went through, where I did kind of overcompensate with, being outgoing because I was always, waiting tables in nice restaurants or bartending.
You were the guy like doing the Carlton dance on a pool table.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And in hindsight, I mean, a lot of my friends from those days, I'm still in touch with them. And it's like we reminisce, and there are just some incredibly funny memories of times when we, really just, had a blast. And part of it was because I was able to, really deflect from, the how do you do plug your hairline
right
to being, hey, Joe's the outgoing funny guy, right? And so it was a blessing for me in the long run, obviously, and also because I got a great career. I'm enjoy I love what I do, and so I do feel blessed in that respect. But for those 9 years that I went through that hell, it was really tough, no question about it.
Well, you came through the other side with flying colors, and a lot of people don't believe that they can. We always talk about, on this program that there is life after hair loss. There's also life after a bad hair transplant. However, it's a lot more difficult because you end up having not only, major trust issues, you have a hell of a lot less hair that can be utilized to get you to your end point.
And that actually brings something up or reminds me of something. I've been dealing with some people over the past. Well, I won't narrow it down, but in my career, that are in a position where they could literally wipe the slate clean with just a small repair procedure, remove some of the grafts that have been placed in the hairline or in the crown or wherever. And they could literally turn back time and wipe the slate clean with 95% of their original appearance intact. And some of these guys, they're so fixated on moving forward, and they got fucked so bad that they still don't recognize it, and they still want to continue to try and do the camouflage bit.
Right.
And they're listening to these doctors that have these BS lines about how, one pass and we can camouflage it and it'll be great.
So what you're saying is they could remove the graft, soften the hairline, kind of be bald, and look 100% normal.
Yeah. Well, not even bald. I'm talking like guys that have had maybe some questionable hairline work.
Right.
But aside from the hairline, they have a relatively full head of hair.
Right.
And I have a hard time understanding why, if the bad work bothers them so much, why they couldn't step back and take that opportunity to turn back time.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I kind of get it. I mean, they are afraid to pull the trigger because they've been fucked in their minds already. They don't want to make things worse.
But what I'm talking about is they are pulling the trigger, but they're pulling the trigger to add more to it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big difference.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people out there. Listen, when you're dealing with this type of an issue, you're not always thinking rationally. I would say that a much larger percentage of men, especially young men who end up having cosmetic surgery of any kind, but especially hair transplantation at a relatively young age, are dealing with, well, I'm not going to say that they're emotionally, that they're necessarily psychologically damaged prior to their hair loss, because there are some guys where that is a tipping point.
Yeah.
Hair loss is definitely a tipping point. But for people to take that step, and it's a major move, they aren't always thinking rationally, let's put it this way. And we always talk about hair greed. So maybe these guys are figuring, you know what? Okay, I've gotten this far. I'm not 100% happy with my current situation. Yeah. This doctor is claiming that he can not only fix that situation, but make it, give me even more hair. That's the option these guys are going to go for.
Yeah, I know. And that's what I fight against. And it's not the most common thing that I run into, but I just, sometimes it really gets me because I know the feeling of redemption with being able to look normal. Now obviously my case kind of at the same time reinforces their idea of moving forward to camouflage, because that's what I did.
Right.
But I didn't really have the option that some guys have to turn back the clock, because I had so much work done, but also had 2 strip scars that were really wide.
You were so fucked. You were one of the most fucked guys I'd ever seen. I mean, I'm talking about with the minimal amount of work you actually had. Because it wasn't a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. So
in a way, you were lucky.
He was some special kind of stupid to be able to.
It was a special kind of fucked.
Yeah.
However, the great news was that you had so much more hair to move. That so you didn't lose a lot of that, precious donor area. So that was pretty. I think you were very fortunate in that respect.
I am. I'm very fortunate, but it's just it's something that's been in my mind is talking about this case or these cases where someone, it would be so much easier just to wipe the slate clean, not being 100%, but being damn near 95, 98% back to the original appearance, right? And it's just I'm kind of venting, I guess.
Yeah.
But you've seen it before.
I see it all the time.
Yeah. And just one of the things that's been on my mind lately. It's just
I speak to guys. I spoke, and guys, hold on. We will take your phone calls in 1 second. Sorry, we got guys holding off from the beginning of the program. 888-659-3727. I spoke to a guy today, 28 years old. He already had 3 strip surgeries. Looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Looks really good. He spent a lot of money over the years on his surgeries, well over $60,000. He happened to go to somebody who charged a lot per graft. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. But he looks great. Wants to go to Turkey now that he spent all his money to get some more work done. And I advised him, I said, first of all, you look great. You don't need to do anything. He's a little weak in the mid-air interior, behind his hairline. Still pretty good. He could wear a little topic. No one would know. Mm-hmm. And that's really about it. I mean, the guy looks really solid.
Yeah.
I said, do you realize that if you go and get a mega session of say 3,000 to 5,000 grafts done at even the best Turkish clinic, you have no fucking clue what is going to happen to you. It's very possible you're going to have tremendous shock loss. You're going to deplete all of your reserves. Do not do it. And he was talking about some doctors who were recommended to the IHRS. And I'm like, listen, it's not my best interest to tell you this, but don't fucking do it. Now, is he going to listen to me? I don't know. He may end up being one of these guys in the forums that says, I went to Dr. So-and-so and I got screwed, even though Kobren told me not to do it.
But you didn't tell him hard enough.
Oh, yeah. Believe me. You know how I am. That's the problem. And I don't know if they just think that I'm being overly dramatic or that I'm overly cautious. But
well, Look, I'm a big believer in quitting while you're ahead. And
and there's a saying that I really believe in. It's not quitting if you quit while you're ahead.
Yeah.
And that is the truth, man.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. And it certainly applies to this.
Absolutely. You want to take a phone call, or do you want to finish your thought?
No, I do want to finish my thought. Sorry, guys. But I think that this is important. It's like if you if it's a little bit weak.
See, that's the thing. You never give him a choice. You give him a choice, he turns into Joe from Staten Island, and he's got to finish his thought.
No, but it's like this. If you've got, it's like, I'll use my own case right now. Okay. I'm done with surgery. 98% sure. But it's like with my crown, it's good enough. I'm going to be 47 years old this year.
Jesus.
I got more hair than most guys my age.
You do, actually.
Or most of my friends anyway.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the greater that lopsided advantage I get becomes.
Tell me about it.
And
my hairstyle is back, actually. It took 30 years.
Well, it rotates, right?
It's back in style. Yeah, it literally rotates.
So hang on another 30 years and I'll be back again. But
look, I've been going for the Brady Bunch thing for a long time. It's back. I'm fine.
Just make sure you got the bell bottoms to go with it.
I do.
So, if it is good enough, then why try to make it perfect? Because there are no guarantees with a surgery. I don't care where you go. I don't care who you're talking to. In fact, if they do give you a guarantee, I think that's a bad idea.
All I can tell you is that in this industry, if you get a written guarantee, you're getting a guaranteed piece of crap. No real physician is going to give you a written guarantee when it comes to any type of cosmetic surgery. As a matter of fact, the opposite would apply. Because A, they have to protect their asses, and B, they have to give you completely realistic expectations, and they have to provide full disclosure. And what is it called? Besides full disclosure. Well, I will think about it, I'm sure, during this phone call. So let's see who this is.
Okay.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from, man?
Doug from Chicago.
Doug from Chicago. How are you,
Doug.
man?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
All right. How's the teeth?
Great. Feel good. Feel a lot better. Life is better.
Dude, I told you, man. I wasn't fucking around when I told you. It was the best move you've ever made for yourself.
And I'm not the obsessive psycho that's been hanging on since the beginning of the show.
Okay.
5 minutes ago. So.
All right, good. Because all the lines are lit, and I just decided to. Actually, you're on line 4, so yeah, you probably did call 5 minutes ago.
My phone call is short. I just have a kind of advice to maybe some guys.
And by the way, I don't think you guys who are holding on are psychos. Doug said that. So
I did say
just
that.
want to make that clear.
I'm a judgmental prick.
Okay.
Sorry. But my mother died last week.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that.
She was half Native American, never smoked her whole life, had a big, beautiful, healthy head of hair, but she needed a lung transplant. So about 6 months ago, they took out both her lungs, and she found a donor, but they could only harvest one lung. And she, had her good days. The recovery was up and down.
Let me ask you, how old was she?
67.
Ah, she was young. So she had lung cancer. It was lung cancer in both lungs?
Yes. Not lung cancer. What's its term for it?
Cystic fibrosis?
Yes.
Okay. Jesus.
Both her brothers died of it. That's genetic. But my mother and I...
The fact that I know that just means I know too much. That's what scares me about my life. I'm obsessive-compulsive about everything. But go ahead.
She, we had our differences over the last, 10 years. And, I kind of regret, when I was younger, my, hair loss really bothered me. So I would miss, going to see her. She called me, come over for Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving or, I probably saw her 5 times in the last 6 years. And a lot of the reasons was, I didn't want to leave or go to family events because, my hair loss was bothering me so much. And when I saw her in the hospital bed with, patches of hair missing, I thought to myself, none of that shit matters. Guys that are missing out, going out to see family, friends, go to the bar, meet girls because their hair loss is bothering them. I say, fuck it, just who cares what people think? Just go out and live your life because, people can die just like that, and then you regret not going to see them over, something I guess I was selfish about.
Well, I have to say that's a very profound statement that you just made, and I will tell you, I will share something with you guys, which I've shared on the show before. While it wasn't to the extreme where I wasn't visiting my mother or, seeing her and being there when she needed me for help and stuff, because I lived relatively close to her at the time when she was dying. I couldn't really fully appreciate her or mourn her death because I was so obsessed and unhappy with what I was dealing with. It was my hair loss situation. So I always attribute not being able to mourn my mother's death the way that I probably should have to my obsession with my hair loss and how it affected my self-esteem and how it just affected my mind. It really consumed me. So it's kind of a different situation, but in a way it's similar as well. I mean, people who don't deal with this have no fucking clue how it could fuck us up. And it wouldn't be the industry that it is today. These scumbags would not be able to take advantage, rip off vulnerable hair loss sufferers to the magnitude of which they do if it didn't affect us the way that you just explained and the way that it affected me. So, your story is really important. I really am sorry about your mother. I hope you don't feel guilty. I want you to just try to understand that your feelings are pretty normal in our world.
Yeah, and people think, if you worry about your hair, they just think you're being vain. It really is a disease of the spirit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
it broke my spirit, dude. Go ahead.
I heard your story when you were younger. You self-medicated and went to bars and.
What do you think I'm doing? I'm still doing it, for crying out loud.
You had a rough time, though, right?
I did.
Well, Joe, you too, when you were dealing with it.
Yeah.
No, he just turned into like the White Carlton. That's what he did. he was just jumping around and dancing, and
that was all a front. It was. Yeah. I mean, when you're 23, 25 years old, and it takes you 45 minutes and half a can of freaking Aquanet just to be able to walk out the door. And yes, it was Aquanet because that's what my mom used.
Yeah.
And I'd always steal, it's like, I'm not going to go buy this stuff. I'd steal it from my mom.
I have to tell you, though, there's nothing like Aquanet.
Aquanet
it is powerful stuff.
Is it good? Does it hold it?
Well, if you want your hair to have a lot of flakes in it, you really got to hold that can really far away. But then you have to like put a towel over your body because it's so sticky. It's but that's what they used to use in the 50s and 60s to maintain.
It's great to hold the hair
to maintain those bouffants.
It's great to get flying bugs too.
Yes, that's true. They will stick. They just freeze right in the air and just drop.
Pretty much. It's like
remember that jingle? A little dab will do you.
Sure.
Yeah, Girl Cream. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I needed a lot more than a dab, and I still do, and so did Joe at the time. But dude, I'm really sorry about your situation, and you're so right. It's so important that the younger kids hear this and understand that as bad as you feel about yourself. First of all, your mother's not going to care. Your mother's probably going to feel sorry for you deep down, especially if you discuss it with them. And if they don't, you know what? Fuck it, whatever. Just you got to do what's best to make yourself feel that you're doing the right thing in life. And that you're not avoiding situations because of your hair loss, especially family events. But it's still so hard. Listen, I didn't go to my 10th. I went to every reunion afterwards, but my 10th high school reunion, I chose not to go. And I'm telling you, dude, If you were to see me back then, I had it wasn't much different than it is now. It's very full. But I was getting to the point where I was combing it over. And I didn't feel, it wasn't the way that it was in high school. And I was embarrassed. And I didn't go to my 10th high school reunion because of it. Not that I really gave a shit at that time, but it was another reason. I didn't go to one of my cousin's weddings because of it. Wait a second. Where are my pills? Can you give me my pills?
And my hair loss is, the funny thing is, it's minimal with a little concealer. You know, I still have a, you know.
You're like me.
Nice hair. Yeah.
We're both nut jobs.
It just, I obsessed over it too. The funny thing is, I got my new teeth, and my mom was in a coma, and, you know, I kind of wanted to show her, but I never got the chance. But she was a hospice nurse most of her life, and it's kind of ironic, but we got her out of the hospital, and she was able to die peacefully at home, you know, just a couple last breaths.
But having that psychology, and I'm glad that you were able to do that, she probably dealt with death differently than most people would.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I imagine so. Doing what she did for a living, she saw a lot of people die.
Of course.
Man, that's some heavy shit.
Trying to bring down the show, I feel like.
Oh, listen, we're not known as the most depressing show on radio. Well, not on radio anymore. On the internet for nothing. These
like
are
Joe's from Staten Island's replacement right now.
Yeah. Did I have to tell you, compared to Joe, you're very cheerful. You know?
All you need, Spencer, is a pair of jean shorts and an 82 red Camaro, and you're right, your hairstyle is coming back.
Oh, dude, it is so... I see kids wearing it now. I'm like, holy shit. You know, I go out to the bars. I'm the man. I'm back, baby.
The shaved head look is out. There's a football player here named Brian Urlacher. He was a star for the Bears.
Yeah,
you know who he is?
Yeah, he just had a hair transplant. It's huge news. Like it's making it's like the biggest deal in the industry.
And all these poor guys in Chicago who were balding, they'll shave their head and got the barbed wire tattoo on their arms.
Now they're fucked.
Yeah, now they're fucked.
Yeah, now they have to have hair. They have to be the Hoff.
And Urlacher said he feels so much better having hair. I thought, you know, he loved having a shaved head, but I guess you never know what's going inside a person's mind unless, you know, that's why you can't really judge people unless you know what they're going through.
There's actually an article, I think I don't know if it's in Fortune magazine or it's in or maybe Entrepreneur. It talks about the guy that was able to convince Urlacher to have his hair transplant. And that really changed this guy Katona's business completely. And it's a very interesting piece. You can probably find it, no pun intended. You can probably find it online. I forgot what magazine it was on. It was in. I just read it. But it shows just the power of getting someone, a celebrity of that magnitude, a sports figure of that magnitude, to have whatever the cosmetic surgery would have been. But in this case, it's hair transplantation. And to come out about it, completely changes attitudes about hair. Yeah. And in a way, I think it's really good because it shows how natural a hair transplant can be and how it can change somebody's life. But it also, like you said, it kind of for some people it can give them the feeling of, oh shit, now I got to do this in order to look normal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So listen, dude, we're going to take some more calls, but I really,
thanks.
I'm really sorry to hear about your mother, and I appreciate you sharing your story. Kind of similar to mine in a sense, but I just want to let you know we really understand it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, hair loss is a motherfucker. Even if it's minimal, it can get in your mind and have you thinking like in circles.
You know, that is a sound clip if I ever heard one, man. Suncast, if you're listening, I think the time is 30:12. Make that cut. All right, dude, listen.
All right. I like to have a good show. And Joe, I keep doing your writing. The hair transplant mentor, that you really do have a touch, and I really enjoy your articles. So
Thank you.
Keep on doing it.
I got plenty more coming.
It's always a pleasure, man. Maybe we'll speak to you next week.
All right, guys.
All right.
Good night.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up?
This is Ryan from Wisconsin.
Ryan, what's going on?
How's it going? It's
now, did you hear that? You're a young guy. Did you hear that story, man?
Yeah. I was definitely going to comment on that, and it was like I thought it was almost aimed towards me, but yeah, I actually I find myself doing that all the time. Actually, what that Doug guy said, he said like not being able to go out to see friends and family and do other things like that, and I find myself doing that a lot now.
Yeah.
It's tough. So you find again.
I actually did. Spencer just reminded me. I didn't go to my 10-year reunion either. I've not thought about this in years.
Yeah, but you had a reason. You were totally screwed up.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No, I was.
But honestly, I mean, I get it. I mean, I was like, I really thought about it. I'm like, I know these people are going to know.
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, and with me, it was like, how could they not know? And but no, it's just I just remember this the first time I've thought of this in probably 5 or maybe even 8 years, where I'll never forget. It's like my significant other at the time. She was like, "Yeah, let's go to this your reunion." And I'm like, "Hell's no, I'm not going to this thing. Are you kidding me?
How can I possibly do that?"
Yeah, it's like because you know what this is. It's a sizing up event to see to look at your high school friends and not friends, to see who turned into losers and who turned into winners. Right. So I'm not going to walk into this thing with this pluggy ass hairline and bald as hell.
Let me tell you though, when you go to your 20th, and you're the guy with the hair.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a totally different thing. I walked into my 20th high school reunion. I'm not kidding you. I thought I was in the wrong fucking place. It was frightening.
But
it was like all of a sudden I am in a room with. I have to say that the women are the ones that really age the most in general. I hate to say it. Anyway, Ryan, let's get back to you. So what's happening?
Yeah, I called you like I don't know. I think I called you guys like 3 weeks ago. It was.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been on Asteroid since like October or November, one of the two. But and I was asking you about using minoxidil again because I recently used it back in August, and you told me no. But I just keep looking in the mirror, and it's just driving me crazy. And I started using it again a little bit. I started using it full time, like not even a week ago though.
Well, it's good. It's good to know that you guys listen to us, but
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm just like,
look, we're not doctors, so I get it. We're just talking about. We just give you advice based on our own experience and the experience of the thousands of people who have contacted us over the years. But you may be just fine. So go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Because my hair, like behind my hairline, right behind the front hairline, it's like there's not much hair at all. There's like a gap, and then a little hair starts. There's a little hair behind it, but there's like almost a bald spot. So I'm not sure if and I could see down to the scalp. I don't know if the Propecia is gonna do it because your hair follicle. What I know, it has to still kind of be there for it to reverse the DHT. I'm not 100% sure how it works, but
well, honestly, I mean, for minoxidil to work as well, and actually create, reverse the miniaturization process, you have to have hair there or some vellus hair there as well. So either way, you have to have some hair there. And you probably do have hair if you actually looked at it under just using basic magnification. You could probably see vellus hair. It's unlikely that there's no vellus hair there, especially at your age.
How old are you again?
I'm 21.
Yeah. It's highly unlikely that you don't have any hair there. It's just it's difficult for you to see it.
You might want to get your vision checked.
There is that. Good point.
Yeah. No, I can see little bumps, but it's my hair loss is pretty. It's getting there now, but you really don't think I should hop back on the Rogaine, huh?
Well, you did.
I thought it would.
You did for how many weeks now? So okay. So
not even a week. It's not even a week.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I know how drastic the initial shed can be for some people, doesn't mean that the hair won't grow back. And it doesn't even mean that you're going to have a shed. But they do list shedding, as one of the side effects. And, at least initial side effects. If you can deal with that roller coaster of emotions, then it is possible that minoxidil is going to help you. Do I think it's going to work in the long term? In my experience, the answer is no. In the experience of most of those who have contacted me over the years, those who continue to use it for more than a decade or more feel they're just kind of stuck on it. They don't know what to do. Joe, maybe you can give the guy your opinion.
Well, I look at it like this. It's like, the fewer things that you can become addicted to, because let's face it, that's what you're going to be doing, is becoming addicted to it mentally. The fewer things that you can have as a requirement just to be able to go outside, the better. And, Rogaine's a funny treatment. I mean, it's the first one that was FDA approved, and there are some cases of some really good turnarounds with it. But it's just, I've seen so many cases where patients have said, I've got this minoxidil shed, as it's called, or Rogaine shed, and it just doesn't come back. Obviously it's not for everyone, or that's not the issue for everyone. But I feel like if you can avoid that potential problem, then you should. You've been on the finasteride for a while now. Give it. How long's it been, Ryan? How long have you been on finasteride?
October, I think. So
yeah, you got so much more time to see what that's going to do for you, and I think that by the time you reach 1.5 or 2 years on finasteride, that's the point where if you're going to do something with Rogaine, if you really want to start up with Rogaine, and you can say with complete certainty, I've tried finasteride, and it's most likely just kind of held me steady. That would be the point where you could maybe reevaluate and say, all right, maybe I can add Rogaine to this. Because the other issue is, if you start now, you're so early in your finasteride use that if you do have a great result, you won't know which one is causing the great result. You won't know if it's the Propecia. You won't know if it's the Rogaine. And then, say 3-4 years from now, or 10 years from now, if you do want to stop one, you're stuck.
Yeah, that's the issue with panicking, and we've all done it. Listen, I was on both. I was on minoxidil for a long time. I mean, finasteride wasn't even available to me. I was having minoxidil compounded, Lonitin tablets with an alcohol base, and then I used propylene glycol, and they would grind the stuff up. I put it in my hair at night. I wake up with like powder all over the place. It was ridiculous. But then I stayed on it for a while, and then when Rogaine was approved, I was using it. I was using it at the 5% level, all the while I was taking Propecia. I just kind of felt that I was getting a lot of scalp irritation. It was a pain in the ass to use, and I honestly believe that I just didn't feel it was working for me anymore, and I wanted to wean myself off of it. And I did it. It took over a year to do it, and I did it, luckily, without a noticeable shed. But, who's to say? I mean, you may be one of those guys where the doctors are right. The guys that are saying to use the two-prong approach. The guys who are saying that these drugs work synergistically. I've never been in agreement with that, to be honest with you. I really think that what Joe said is 100% correct. You got to know what you're dealing with. You don't want to be fucked and stuck using medication for the rest of your life that may not be helping you at all.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Okay, yeah, and then again, when I use that topic, I have to take a shower or wash it out before I put the Rogaine in again, and I don't know, it's a real pain in the ass, like you said. Also, I figured out when I used to take it, when I lift weights, I bench press, and when I go down like under the bench, I get like very dizzy, and then when I stand up, like after I get done with that, it's like I'm almost unstable on my feet. It makes me so dizzy. Yeah, and it's got to be the Rogaine.
Yeah, well, if it's happening, so you noticed that this week.
Yeah, exactly, and it happened back when I used to take it, and it went away in the meantime. So, yeah.
That is not.
That's definitely.
That is not uncommon. I mean, it happens. It definitely happens, and there's no doubt in my mind that, like you said, it's not coincidence. So, but some people it's transient though. So, meaning that if you continue to use the drug, that those dizzy spells will go away. But I don't know, man. I'm just not a fan. I'm just being honest. I'm just not a fan. I understand. I understand what you're trying to do. I would tell you. I'd rather tell you to go out and get a laser, hood or some shit, than get on minoxidil. I don't know. What about you, Joe?
I don't know. I think that
you can't even go there. You can't even say it. Maybe it works. It's hard for me to say too, to be honest with you. I don't know.
It's tough.
A lot of doctors that I know recommend low-level laser light therapy. I respect them as hair transplant surgeons, but I have not seen the results with the laser caps and the laser hoods. And because I'm telling you, man, I would have an industrial strength, full-on laser hood in my living room.
I'd have a laser ceiling.
Yeah, if I believe they would, I can get any company to send me one, even if I had to pay cash for it, which I probably wouldn't. I would just watch television with it. I'd be like, okay, honey, I'm putting the dryer on, and that's it.
To be fair, I can say that a very well-respected doctor that I know had a person in his life, in his personal life, that was not a patient, that had tried Rogaine, had tried all these other treatments as a female, and once she tried one of these laser devices, I won't say which, she had a turnaround that he said was almost like a godsend. That's the only case I've actually ever seen, and I actually know this woman where there was an improvement. One case. So it's completely, it is an objective viewpoint that I have on this, because I first heard about it and I kind of snickered, like, okay, whatever.
I know a guy that he wrote me. He believes that, and he sent me images. This is years ago, that he grew his hair back with tea tree oil, and it looks like he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are cases out there for all kinds of different treatments where one in, pick your number, one in so many people will have a positive result. Is it specifically because of this? It's hard to say. I mean, it's not a scientific comparison, but all things being equal, the laser in this case did create a benefit. I've seen a case where a guy, I think I talked about this on the show before, a guy flew to see me from Tasmania all the way here to Vancouver to show me.
Tasmania.
Freaking Tasmania, dude. He flew all the way from Tasmania to show me his new hair, where I've been consulting with him over a
number of
months.
Was it like in a bag or something?
I'm sorry?
Was it in a bag or something?
No, it was on his head. He was a Norwood 6, and he was taking a product combined with Lonitin, and the guy had a complete turnaround. It's like it's one of those cases where you look at it, you look at the pictures, and you look at the guy, and it's like you sound like this guy I've been talking to, but you're not the same guy.
Now, did he come to see you because he wanted you to like invest in his company? Or?
No, he literally hopped in a plane and flew around the world to see me so he could show me his hair.
Because I get that shit. I get that shit all the time.
Yeah, he had no
ulterior motive.
Yeah, he had no ulterior motive.
I mean, one of the first calls I ever got was actually from Ray Woods, who, he tracked me down. I was in Los Angeles, 1999. I wasn't even living here at the time. Tracked me down my fucking hotel, and he wanted to fly out himself to show me this procedure. Like he was ready to get on a plane at any time. At any moment. I'm like, just have one of your patients come to my studio.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen. But so usually when someone is willing to travel, there is some sort of a, they want something out of it.
You think, but I mean, but also as hair loss sufferers, I mean, the guy was over the moon, and he just wanted to show me, to say, this happened to me.
That's amazing.
And I was, I mean, it was amazing.
Well,
it absolutely makes sense.
So Ryan, listen. I mean, the decision is yours. That's all I can say. We are not. We're not physicians.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm definitely, because I just wanted I was going to do it just in case I don't know. I was just going to do it until I talked to you tonight. And so where do I go from here? Am I going to go through another, because when I did it before, I felt like it really fucked me when I got off of it, like, hard, because all my hair, like, I felt like it was falling out. That's when I went, like, that was probably when I was the most depressed. And then I got on Propecia, and I got a little more happy because I was, like, looking forward and hoping that it was going to be working. So then now it's this many months later, and now I'm kind of freaking out again. I'm like, oh, is the Propecia going to work? So what do I do now? Like, I don't want to take it if you don't think it's going to work. So should I just not take it anymore? Should I wane off of it? Should I use it once a day?
You know, let me ask you a question. What's your current situation as far as shedding?
I couldn't even tell you. Like, I mean,
do you see yourself progress? Do you see your hair loss progressing?
Maybe a little. I mean, I mean, with the Propecia, it's still progressing very slowly because I have to use more Topic and stuff, yeah. That's why I want to get back onto Rogaine, maybe, but I don't even want to deal with it, honestly. It's just a pain in the ass twice a day.
Well, that's how I feel about it. But you know what? I cannot put I just don't feel like I should be, like, the guy to say, hey, stop taking what you've already started it, you know? So you have to make the decision. We've given you all the information that we are privy to. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have started it to begin with. That's all I can say.
No, thanks.
You know, but I'm just being honest. But you know, you may be a guy that really responds well to it, and there are plenty of people who do respond well to Rogaine. They wouldn't be on the market this long, and it wouldn't be something that physicians recommend if there wasn't a chance that it could help you. Mm-hmm. So you have to just be willing to deal with the possible consequences of
I think
of a shed.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think that the ultimate thing that you need to be prepared for is a long-term commitment to it. You don't take it for a year and just decide, well, it's not doing anything, because that's when you're more likely to experience a shed, is when you stop taking it. And
okay,
I mean, it's a commitment. You know, it's just like with Propecia. It's a commitment. If you're going to start it, you got to stick to it. You can't just decide a year or two later, you know, it's not really doing anything, and I think I'll stop. And then, of course, you know, that's when I get the phone calls. Well, I stopped 6 months ago, and now I have no hair left.
I'm going to give you an example. I was on a smaller scale, but I spoke to a woman. When was it? It was like Thursday. She had been using Latisse for about a year with great results, grew these incredibly enormous eyelashes, and she had forgot the drug. She went away for 2 weeks, and she forgot to bring it with her. She basically lost all of her eyelashes. Now, eyelashes grow back pretty quickly, and this is, you know, but it just goes to show you, it wasn't as though she had really diminished eyelashes to begin with. She just wanted to have these full, beautiful, like, you know, crazy eyelashes that look fake. And that's what Latisse can produce. But once you stop using these medications, they, you know, usually you're thrown into a shed. And so imagine if what happened to her eyelashes happened on your scalp. You would fucking freak out.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. So you have to be prepared. That's it. And if you do continue to use it, if you ever decide to get off of it, I mean, I'm telling you, it took me a year to wean off of it. I was getting to the point where I was just dabbing like with a cotton swab, very small amounts all over my scalp, as opposed to using, you know, 1 milliliter or, you know, whatever the recommended dosage is, just so that my scalp would have something, you know. And I was doing that for like a year. And I somehow got away without having a major shed.
Wow. So you think after this little bit of time, I could just stop taking it?
You've been on it for less than a week?
I would say probably. But again, we're both not doctors, and we don't have a crystal ball. But I would say that he probably won't have any. I mean, what do you think, Joe?
I'm sorry. He said you've been taking it for less than a week?
Yeah. I would say
maybe just I think it lasts Sunday, it's Tuesday, yeah, a week and 2 days, maybe.
Oh, see,
I can't
that
remember
extra
the
2
exact
days
date.
is what fucks you up now.
You crossed the threshold, dude. You're
It
done.
wasn't longer than that, though.
Yeah, no, I'm
No,
I'm pretty sure you're going to be fine if you decide to stop taking it. But
Yeah, I'm definitely going to stop taking it.
But please, there's no guarantees. You can call us next week and say all of a sudden you have 1,000 hairs in your brush.
And I'll say, well, you shouldn't have listened to Spencer.
Right. So, my advice is you got to go with your gut. The reality is, and based on everything that we both know, it's unlikely that you're going to have any type of adverse effect being on it for such a short period of time.
Yeah.
But anything is possible. You always have to keep that in your mind whenever you make a decision to do something. So I wish I can give you a guarantee, but I can't.
Yeah.
But
I literally thought,
go ahead.
You want to finish?
No, you go ahead.
I thought before, like when I started taking it and I got off it, I thought it ruined my hair. Like I was telling everybody it was like, I just was telling everybody, like, never take it. It's horrible. I thought it dried out my hair, made me lose a lot more.
So I mean, what the fuck then? Listen, I understand how desperate people are.
I know.
I understand
Exactly.
but you've already been through it. You know.
I know, but I only took it for 3 months before.
Yeah.
And then I stopped, and I was kind of like, oh. And then I learned it fucked my hair up when I stopped because I went through that whatever dread shed or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
It's
unlikely. I'm going to be on. It's unlikely, and again, I can't make a guarantee. It's unlikely you're going to deal with any type of shedding now after 9 days. Right. So if you are going to stop, now is probably the time to stop.
Yeah.
Once you get past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, then it really starts to kick in, and you start to, the hair follicles start to what's the word, Joe? I can't think. Not dilate. It's a vasodilator. But anyway, the process starts to begin. So it may be affecting the miniaturization process within 3 or 4 weeks. And then if you stop it all of a sudden, then you could go through a shed for sure. So just,
You're talking the constriction after?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, what he's talking about is when with the vessels and capillaries in the scalp being expanded because it is a vasodilator, once you stop taking it, then they do reduce in diameter. And so there is a reduction of blood flow because of the constriction. And they're technically just going back to their normal size, but
because of that, it actually will throw you into in most cases, a telogen effluvium because it happens simultaneously.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
I gotcha.
I think you're safe now. So let us know what you decide. Let us know what you decide to do. But listen, I know you're frustrated. I know you're 21 years old. I know you still think you're progressing, and you probably are. If you think so, you know your hair yourself, even though you're on finasteride. But believe me, you could get to a point where it really slows things down. And, some guys think they continue to progress for 1, even 2 years after getting on the drug. And then all of a sudden they realize, wait a second, it's really holding, and then they do well for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I was a guy, I've been on for 20 years,
Mm-hmm. It's just hard. It is hard going to school and stuff, just dealing with this, like, pain in the ass, really. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I know you know. All right. Thanks. I appreciate it. So, yeah, I appreciate this conversation.
Listen.
Hey, did you ever, did we talk about your diet and other things that you're doing?
Yeah, we never really talked about anything else. I mean, I thought Propecia really it. I mean, you told me not to use you recommended not using the shampoo with the ketoconazole like more than 3 times a week. So I actually stopped using that.
You stopped using it altogether?
On my hair. Yeah, is that bad?
Well, okay. Here's the thing with ketoconazole. I mean, there's studies out there that show that it's as effective as 2% minoxidil. So if you're taking it on a regular basis and then you just quit cold turkey, maybe that has some sort of contributing factor to your current situation. Most likely not. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a researcher on that. But I do know that there are the studies that show its efficacy. I use it myself. I don't think there's any reason to stop taking it if you're using it 3 times a week. I don't, there's no real reason to stop because there are benefits to it. A lot of people that I think take ketoconazole shampoos or dandruff shampoos and report hair loss fighting properties that or results that they're noticing from this. I think that they're also maybe having healthier hair because when you go through situations where you've got dermatitis in the scalp, seborrheic dermatitis, you're actually losing hair at an accelerated rate because the skin tissue is shedding at an accelerated rate. And when you have these large flakes coming out, they're actually taking hair with it. And so it's my theory that, when they start using these shampoos, they may not realize they have this issue. A lot of people don't. But when they're using a type of shampoo like this, they're actually getting the condition under control, which in turn is getting their hair loss under control that might not be completely due to male pattern hair loss. So it's just a working theory of mine, just from observation over 15 years. But I think it's sound. But back to your case specifically, I don't see why you should stop taking it.
Okay. Yeah, I use the big 3 of the shampoo, so that's what I was using before. I still have it. I'll just keep using that then.
Yeah,
I actually think that's the smart move, to tell you the truth. And I wouldn't use it. I personally wouldn't use it more than twice a week. But I know that there are people who use it 3 times a week. I don't know, Joe, how you feel about that, but I think that it's unnecessary.
It depends on whatever the instructions say. I mean, I personally have used it. It's like I had one time where I had some thinning and I used it every day for probably 5 months.
Yeah.
I had to. And it worked.
Also it depends on the condition of your scalp as well.
Of course. But then there's also the issue of your nutrition. I'm a big believer in cutting out sugar. If you are having issues like this, foods that are organic, no hormones and antibiotics in your meats, stuff like that. I think it all can help. So if you can try this, okay, if you can get your nutrition to being as clean as you possibly can make it, little to no sugar, find out where your meats are coming from. Do they have antibiotics and hormones, stuff like that? If they do, find the place that it doesn't.
I'm going to be completely candid here. You do know the kid is 21 years old going to college. It's going to be very difficult for him to follow any type of regime that old men like we do. You have to, So
enjoy the pizza. No, just kidding.
That's just the way it is.
No, I'm pretty fit, so I eat really good. So, but I didn't think about the meats. Like I thought I was getting good protein. I don't eat fats or anything, but the hormones in the meats, I didn't even think about that.
I mean, if you can get grass-fed meat, and I would suggest grass-fed that is raised in the U.S., not like Honduras grass-fed stuff that you get at your local supermarket. You're probably going to be in a much better position. There's going to be no hormones. The meat itself actually produces omega-3 fatty. I think it's omega-3 fatty acids when the animal eats grass, as opposed to omega-6, which is actually unhealthy for you in too high of a dose. So it's a completely different animal, no pun intended, when they're eating what they're supposed to be eating naturally, and that is grazing on grass as opposed to grain-fed beef. Now, I will tell you this. I go out to a steakhouse. I don't give a shit. I'll eat the grain. I mean, sometimes it's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
but when I eat in the house, I definitely eat grass-fed stuff. So, all right, dude, listen.
Perfect.
I wish you the best of luck. We will probably be live next week. Let us know what you decide to do. Just try to hang in there, man.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Thank you both very much.
All right, man. You take care.
See you, man.
Take it easy.
Yeah, you guys too.
888-659-3727. I'm going to take a break in a second, but I had an interesting email exchange today and actually yesterday with a hair transplant doctor who's a very nice. I just want to say he's a very nice man. He means well. I think he really believes in what he is doing, and he's good at what he does personally. But he's very involved with kind of like, and I call it mainstream, but the mainstream societies in this organization. Mm-hmm. And he is under the impression that if you are part of these mainstream societies, that you are prone to being more ethical as a surgeon and as a practitioner. And I had to let the guy know. I'm like, listen, dude, you're a nice guy, but you're extremely naive. If you really believe the organizations that you are revering, that you hold in such high esteem, are filled with some of the worst offenders that the industry has ever seen. The American Board of Hair Restoration Surgery, some of the guys who are grandfathered into that board were the guys that are, they literally put people into mental institutions, allegedly. I mean, there are guys who are board certified whose patients have, allegedly, I don't even want to say that because that's going too far, but it's bad news. That's all I'm going to say. It's bad news and it's bullshit. And I do think that there is merit to the ISHRS. I do think that there is merit to the ABHRS. But if anybody is making a decision to have hair transplant surgery based on anyone being involved with these two organizations, I can guarantee you that if I studied for that test to become board certified as a hair transplant surgeon, even though I've never went to medical school, I would pass. There's no doubt in my mind. Give me the material, give me a week, and I'll make it happen. So it doesn't mean jack shit. And I'm sorry to be so harsh about it, but when I'm having this conversation with this guy, I actually called him naive, and not in an offensive way. I wasn't meaning to offend him, but just that he's such a nice guy, he actually believes this bullshit. Because he's relatively new in the field. He's only been doing this, I'd say, for about maybe since 2008, 2007, something like that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and I also brought up the fact that they in the book that he sent me, they rewrote the history of FUE. How to bring it up?
That's an interesting take on qualifications.
Yeah,
in ethics.
It rewrote the history of FUE, and I don't even think it was his fault. That's the thing. I think he is being told. The history has been rewritten along the way.
Yeah.
But all you have to do is to go to Wayback Machine or archive.org now, I guess,
yeah.
And the entire history is all there if you know where to look for it. I don't know. I just felt I needed to talk about this and get it off my chest because
it's always an interesting subject.
It's amazing to me that I think he honestly believes that these are important criteria when it comes to researching a hair transplant surgeon. When any MD or DO doesn't have to have any specialty. Mm-hmm. All they do is have to pay their annual fee, and they are in the ISHRS.
Yeah.
Unlike the guys that have to pay their annual fees who are in the IAHRS, because we turn people away. And they bitch at us about them having to pay a membership fee. But what organization on the planet?
All of them.
Everyone. Absolutely. That's how it works. You have to. How are you going to support it?
Yeah. And the people that run it.
Absolutely. This one organization. I mean, if you actually look at what's being spent through the ISHRS, it's fucking insane, dude. I could run that organization in my fucking underwear. Okay, hungover most of the time, and I can tell you this: we would do a hell of a lot better job. I would bring you on board, of course.
Thank you.
And they would actually have a visible website. They'd be able to really educate patients. It would be completely different. It would be a force to be reckoned with. They have like 1,200 doctors. And if you see what's on the site, it's like, holy shit. This guy actually wrote to me that, the ISHRS sent out a consumer alert about hair transplant technicians doing all the surgeries and this and that, because he was concerned about something that I wrote on a recent video that was posted that I did with Craig Ziering.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It's 10 years too late. Yeah. And no one reads your site anyway.
The whole deal about anyone warning about technician clinics, it's like trying to backpedal up a waterfall you've already gone over.
Dude, I'm going to go back, and I have to repeat myself, and I know sometimes I do, and we will take a break. And guys, hold on, I'll take your phone calls in a second. But when Ed Epstein contacted me, who at the time was the president of the ISHRS, who is a friend of mine, who is a guy that I have a great relationship with.
He's an awesome guy.
He's a very, very...
I love Ed Epstein. He's like the greatest guy.
He's a very nice guy.
Conferences.
But, again, like all of these guys, they fall for the bureaucracy of being a part of these organizations. And part of it does help their, street cred, I guess, in the industry. And, in medicine, in academia, being a part of these things, it becomes very important to the what's the word that I'm looking for? To Jesus Christ. Can you get me on my pills, please, by the way? No, it becomes very important to their entire persona, their who they are as a physician, to be able to be a part of these things. And
for them or the people looking at them?
For them also, because they want to be recognized by their peers.
So it becomes part of their psyche, their psyche demands that they're a part of this.
Well, yes, that's actually well said, but it becomes, it's just this whole, collegial situation that physicians have. They feel they have to belong. And if they don't, they are less than.
Yeah.
So, I think I pronounced that word right. So, well, I lost my train of thought. My whole point really is that I think these organizations are important for what they do. But it really fucking chafes my ass when I speak to people and I hear these guys who, truly believe that, they are somehow, the organization is somehow changing the field. To get back to what I was saying, and I remember, Ed Epstein contacted me when the Neograph came out and when all of a sudden these technician-driven clinics were popping up and all these per diem traveling techs were starting to get involved in the industry and take business away. That's really the only reason why these people call me. Take business away from, their clinics and asked what they should do and how they should handle it. In my view, it was only going to harm patients. So I gave them a blow-by-blow exactly what they needed to do. And they came back to me and said, well, the organization's afraid of being sued, so we can't do that.
Yeah.
But we'd like you to do something. So now a decade later, they finally post something on their website and they think that is somehow going to fucking be effective.
As if anyone's going to see it to begin with.
Yeah. The horse is out of the barn, man. This is the new model. Anyone out there who's getting into the FUE business, and that's what all these doctors are doing, they are hiring technicians to do the vast majority of the work. And what this guy took exception to was that I wrote that in general, and I said in general, something to that effect, physicians are less involved in the surgical procedure than ever before in the history of this field.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that.
And he did not like that.
Well, look at the way it's set up. Okay, when you have a traditional strip surgery in the majority of clinics out there, the doctor's involved in the donor strip removal, the suturing and closing of the donor wound or the strip wound,
right,
and then making the incisions for the technicians to place the grafts. At worst, he's involved 50% of the time if he's in a stick-in-place clinic where he takes out the strip and then technicians place grafts stick in place.
But there may be, how many stick-in-place clinics, in North America? There were maybe 4,
Back
5?
in the day, though, they were a lot more prevalent, like in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Remember, we're talking in history.
Yeah.
So when you compare that to today, the average clinic that's starting up Now, I don't have stats on this, but my guess is, at least in North America, you have clinics that are already established to do lip injections, tummy tucks, whatever, taking this on, and the doctor might not have any input surgically because these per diem technicians are coming in, doing the scoring, doing the extraction, making, the doctor might make the incisions, technicians might make the incisions.
Right.
I mean, it's really a big question mark, but we do know that the doctor is involved far less than 50% in a lot of these cases.
It's never been like this. It has never been as bad as this. So I made it clear, and one of the reasons why I am excited about the robotic technology is that is going to completely, once it is where it's almost completely there. They have the extractions down. They are now doing an incredible job as far as recipient site creation. But once we're able to take out that human factor, the hangover factor, the guys that are just hiring techs, because let's face it, it's much cheaper just to hire a few girls and get some punches than it is to buy a $250,000 robot and upgrade it for $4,000 or $5,000 every couple of months.
Yeah,
and give the company $1 a graft. So these guys are fighting this technology tooth and nail. So anyway, I thought it was interesting. I got this email. Obviously, I'm very respectful. It was a very nice email as far as his level of respect. Mm-hmm. It wasn't nasty like some of the emails that I get from some of the doctors in the field. But I would say that the reason I'm being contacted, and especially to the level that I'm being contacted now, is out of fear. And my entire goal, listen, it's not in my best interest to just promote guys with robots because there's only a few of them who are part of my group. It absolutely is not my best financial interest to do that. Period.
Of course.
And I try to explain it to this guy. I'm just telling the truth. This is what's happening in the field. If you guys want to get, kind of like put the brakes on things and make it a safer field and do things manually yourselves or have the right staff to help you, instead of hiring these 20-year-old girls to do the bulk of the hair transplant surgery, then that's the direction that we'll start to talk about. But that's not what's happening.
No.
Spencer's drunken Turkish transplant rant is now over. All right, guys. 888-659-3727. But Joe, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a fucking mess, and it's getting much worse.
Yeah, and I'm seeing this firsthand. You're seeing it, and it bothers me only because I've worked so hard. You've worked so hard for the education of patients, and what we've been seeing over the past several years is a dumbing down of the internet. The marketing has taken over. The guys that how can I put this? The
guys who were once good are now completely changing the infrastructure of their practices to be bad.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. I think about it. I'm like, these guys their names are golden.
Look, you got situations where clinics whose names are golden for their past work are switching over to offering FUE where the doctor's barely involved. But the patient is going to the clinic based on the previous body of work that got the name where it is. And I'm going to tell you a quick story before we take a break. But
shit, man, these guys are holding on, so I probably won't be able to take a break. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was talking to a guy that
I got all pissed in this.
He contacted me. He wanted to know about a clinic that had been doing. They're fairly new into the game of FUE, and I was asking him just some questions.
Yeah, I wonder who that is. Go ahead.
What kind of results have you seen so far? Have they sent you results? I'm being completely objective here. Just asking questions. Have they shared with you their experience? Have they shared with you the results that they're getting so far? Are you able to contact any patients? And I noticed that he kept kind of almost pushing back with my questions based on his observation that the work that they've had over the past several years looks really good.
Yeah.
But was it
FUE work?
Looking for?
Yeah.
And I noticed that there was a difficulty in him grasping the fact that it's like saying, this horse jockey is phenomenal at riding horses.
Right.
So by this guy's perception, the same logic would apply that this horse jockey should be great driving an F1 car.
Right.
It makes no sense to me.
Right.
But he couldn't grasp that there's a huge difference. And I don't know, it's something that's really, there's a psychological thing going on with this, and it really bothers me because it's just setting people up for misery.
Here's the thing: these clinics, they are kind of resting. They're not really resting on their laurels because now they know they need to change their practice because FUE is really, the most demanded procedure. That's what people want. Period.
Yeah.
End of subject.
No one's walking in saying, "Please cut my head open."
Yeah, like where can I find the best strip doctor? It doesn't work that way anymore. And there's no physicians who contact us through any of our organizations who are trying to get involved. And I have another funny story. Who are trying to get involved in hair transplantation now who want to learn how to do the strip. Strip is going by way of the dodo. I think it's kind of unfortunate because strip is still needed. And I think it's important for any physician, in my view, who gets into this field to have both the ability, and I'm going to repeat myself, the infrastructure to perform strip on those patients who will only benefit from strip.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, recommend them to somebody down the street who does strip, but that ain't going to happen.
No.
Doesn't happen. So, but what is happening is these very well-known clinics with great reputations are now making all kinds of claims. They're hiring technicians to do the vast majority of the work, and they are depending on the reputations that they built online and elsewhere for years to bring in those patients. And patients obviously think, because it makes sense to the uneducated, someone who doesn't really understand the industry, that, well, if they can get results like this with a strip, then of course, what's the difference? It's just the only difference is the way that the graft is being extracted.
Yeah.
That's a wrong way of thinking, guys. I am telling you. I am getting complaints now that I never thought that I would get. I've had to have conversations with doctors who, and I'm not even talking about doctors on the IHRS, I'm talking about guys who would never have even made the IHRS, who were not great before, who are now even worse, in my view, because they've adopted this new model.
Yeah.
So, I don't just talk to the guys who are part of what I do. I actually, and you're the same way, Joe, we try to better the field as a whole. So if I get a complaint from a clinic, I'll pick up the phone and say, listen, you got this guy, he's very unhappy, this is what's happening. I ask the right questions, and all of a sudden I find out that the clinic picked up a neograft. And inherently there's nothing wrong with a neograft, in my opinion, except for the actual suction, which I understand they're changing. But if you jerry-rig that thing, take that suction out, it's a great handpiece.
Well, that's what Alan Bauman did.
Right, with a great.
He did that years ago, and he actually loves the handpiece. He says it's the best handpiece in the market.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if he does now.
That's what he tells me. The balance is incredible.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if it's used correctly and someone knows what they're doing, you're gonna get great grafts.
Yeah.
But that's not what's happening, guys. So I have to kind of drum it, keep banging that drum because no one is getting it. Now, this is what the market is. Who has the cheapest prices? Can I fly to fucking Turkey to get a $1 graft hair transplant? All I want is FUE. I don't want a linear scar. That's what it's all about. That's how it's being marketed. And, even the guys who had great names for years are, in my view, starting to harm their own practices. And they don't even realize it. They're doing it because they feel the need to compete. You know what? Take another year. You're still going to be fine doing the strips that you do. Take another year to learn. Don't rush into it. Don't rush into it. Because you know what's going to happen? I'm telling you guys, and I spoke to you about this, Joe, there's going to be a huge paradigm shift where the short lists that most people are putting out there online will no longer be
poof.
Yeah, they're just going to disappear. And these people are going to be looked at as almost like you're going to a fucking third world country to get a hair transplant. Because sadly, even here in North America, these are the people they're hiring. It's fucking crazy. Anyway.
Never seen anything like it before.
No. The industry is, we made it, and I include you, even though we were not working together, because you were there all along the way, almost. I mean, you came in about 4 years after I started, something like that, or 5 years. But completely changed the field, made it a safe place, made it a place where if at least people found our information, they had a 98% chance of having a great outcome. Maybe a little lower, 96% chance of having a great outcome.
Strong chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is fucking changing, guys. So please, do your homework. If you're considering a doctor on the IHRS, you have to grill them even more because they're still the best of the best in general. However, find out what they're doing as far as how they've evolved their practice. Find out if they're doing more FUE. Find out how they're doing FUE. Ask who their staff is. Learn about how long their staff has been working with them. That's what I'm doing. And that's why there's going to be some changes made. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Yeah, hi, this is Eric Beckman, South Florida.
Eric Beckman, thank you for your last name. In South Florida, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with both. Yeah.
All right, cool. What's happening, man?
Thanks for calling. How are you?
Hold on. Google his ass. Find his Facebook page and let's fuck with him.
Yeah, sure. I'm out there. I'm out there now. I'm okay. So, I very much appreciate you guys. Getting the word out on all the latest technologies and all the latest trends in the field of hair restoration. I do appreciate you guys for doing that.
Oh, you got it, man.
Wanted to put that out there. Secondly, I have in the past I've done 3 procedures, 2 FUT, 1 FUE. 12 years ago, I did FUT, 2 procedures, and I went to a guy in North Carolina. He was from Florida, and he did a pretty good job. He did the whole procedure himself. Now, I just did an FUE procedure here in South Florida, and just like what you guys were talking about, I barely saw the doc, and the technicians were there the whole time. Barely saw the doc. Doc made a couple of incisions, drew a line, and left. And the techs were. It was a troubling experience, really. I felt like one of.
I hate hearing this shit.
It was really one of them was shaking and seemed like she was. I have written about this, but on the reviews, but was just shaking, and we were watching a movie, and she was laughing so hard, and I didn't want to say anything because then I felt like my procedure would have gotten that much worse.
Wait a second. Wait.
Yeah.
You guys, she was watching the movie?
She was watching the movie
with you.
With me, yes. Not. So she's on one side of me, laughing real hard, and shaking, and putting my graft in at the same time. And the techs had already. So the techs did all the extraction, and then they're putting them in. And I get these people coming back in and out of the room, hardly saying a word to me. So not announcing themselves, not announcing who they are. So it was very impersonal as well. So I don't know. It just was not. And this was at one of the higher end doctors that is highly promoted and one of the faces of hair transplantation here in the United States. This is why I went to him.
Right.
And yeah, so let me just say that I feel like I feel like I don't know how to feel. I feel like.
Well, let me ask you, was it in South Florida?
Yes, I live in South Florida.
Okay. And so was it a neograft procedure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying the entire time the staff did the entire thing, which happens, unfortunately, with knee grafts, and sometimes depending on who the who the clinic is, you could have a great outcome. I will tell you, there are guys out in South Florida that we work with who have, and even though I don't love it, they have technician-run clinics that are producing incredible results. But your experience sounds pretty fucked up.
It was pretty bad, and when I talked to the doc about it afterwards, he said he'd go back and look at the video, and then he backtracked and said, well, maybe he deleted the video, and it was just a little weird. So,
all right. So tell me what
tapes the procedure.
Video. He said he tapes the procedure. Yeah, which is strange, but
I actually think that should be done in every procedure as long as you have permission from the patient.
Right. Because I'd be happy. I would have loved to watch it. I was encouraging him to watch it.
Yeah.
So another thing is all the other. So we have I put stock in the transplants. I think that works because I have a hairline. The reason why I have a frontal hairline is because of my first procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put a lot of stock in that, and I do take finasteride.
Good.
Well, I do want to say this. Now, your experience sounds. I mean, it sounds frightening. However, I wanted you to be clear. I want you to understand that you have no idea what the results are going to end up like, and they can end up being fantastic. How long
was this recent?
How long ago was it?
Oh, yeah, it was in December, beginning of.
Okay, so you should be seeing some stuff happening now. So let's see, December. What is? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you should see some growth.
4 months. I haven't seen much, to be honest, but
yeah. Well, now's around the time when things start to pop, right, Joe?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had 1,500 grafts.
It could be 5 months.
And was this placed into existing hair, or was it a completely bald area?
There was some of existing hair, but on my left side, and it's very sparse.
Where were the grafts placed?
Mainly in the frontal area.
Okay, so behind your hairline or into your hairline as well?
They did modify the hairline a little bit.
Okay, all right. So what you've got going on right now is a situation. I was asking because guys that have no hair, you'll see growth a lot earlier. I don't mean that the growth will be a lot earlier. It's just it's easier to see.
It's more noticeable. Yeah,
it's more noticeable because it's trees growing in a field, whereas what you just had done are trees planted in a forest. Right. So it's a lot more difficult to see the growth until it actually starts really coming through. So you might not notice any difference for until a little bit later out than someone who doesn't have much hair to begin with. That said, you had some hairline work done. You said that it was modified. You might, it kind of applies there, not quite so much.
I'm going to cut you off for a second. I'm sorry, Joe, and hold on to that thought. I'm not sure if you said this, but did the physician actually create the recipient sites, or was it all stick in place?
He made some incisions in the front area, but from what I've been told, I talked to, now you guys can tell me, because I do plan on likely getting another procedure in the future. It will definitely be with somebody else.
Right.
But because there's some other reasons why I don't trust this guy. But
tell us. I'm curious. What are the reasons, man? Talk to us. That's what we're here for.
Well, part of it is when I go into some place in like a chiropractor, for instance, or anywhere that you're trying to get treatment for something that ails you, and for us, it's we're losing our hair. You don't want to feel like you're getting a sales pitch.
Right.
And I feel like when I walked into the office, that's what I was getting. I was getting a sales pitch for all these different products that he had going on. This new and improved finasteride and this great minoxidil solution that I have and all this, and and it's all hundreds of dollars more than it would be just if you buy it over the, with any other doctor.
Right.
And or in the lasers and the PRP and this and that, and a lot of this stuff has little clinical evidence to support it, and so.
Right, I get it. I mean,
accepted. Some of the things are accepted. Some of them are, he's basically just saying, I'm a doctor, so just take me at face value because I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
I have MD next to my name, or it's on this website, which it could just be a website, with a few articles on it that have no basis of any kind of medical trials or anything. Just says we've had good results doing this.
Well, here's my thing.
Just take that at face value.
Just so you know, and if you've ever watched the program or listened to it, I'm not a through we don't recommend low-level laser light therapy through the American Hair Loss Association because we haven't seen enough clinical data. However, we've seen some pretty significant data when it comes to platelet-rich plasma therapy when it's done correctly. There's only a handful of guys in the entire country who we could recommend at this point. And honestly, there's only one guy in Florida who I recommend personally who is not part of anything that we do, and he's not even a physician. His brother is. He's a scientist. He's a PhD. He's the guy He's the guy that actually was really the first to introduce it to the hair world. His name is Dr. Joseph Greco, and he's in Sarasota. So you could always call him and ask about these things as well. He's a very honest guy. They have a hair transplant practice, him and his brother, but he's really the PRP king. And I have a family member who goes there. She flies from New York every 4 months, and I'm going to tell you, the results are spectacular.
Okay.
So there's no financial incentive for me to say this. I mean, he doesn't work with us in any way. So these things can work. But anyway, in your case, you had a fucked up.
You've got all these other. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
You got all these other guys charging $1,500 or $2,000 to these people that are a little bit gullible, and if they're not getting the right procedure, then and how are we supposed to know as consumers whether it is the right procedure or not? So it's really hard. So that's why I appreciate the dialogue here.
And you're right about that. And the one thing that I did, I do another program, and I had Joe Greco on the show, and we talked about the fact that now PRP is being introduced into the mainstream cosmetic surgery world as this miracle facial rejuvenation bullshit, and there are some indications for it. I have seen some decent results if it's done right. The point is, not all PRP is created equal, and there are different formulations of PRP. Some you're going to use more red blood cells. Some you're going to use less red blood cells.
There are different centrifuges.
There's different types of centrifuges to separate
to separate the PRP.
Right. So the doctor has to really be familiar with what works for hair and what works for skin. Very few are. I would say maybe 3 really understand it. So you're right. You're right to be skeptical, and I appreciate what you're saying. And you know what sucks? You had a bad experience, and that should never, ever be what you walk away from. Now, no one can control what happens with growth as far as the surgery is concerned. But chances are, and I say this all the time because usually it turns out okay, chances are you're probably going to get pretty good growth as long as they didn't transect the grafts, even with the laughing nurse.
Right. I really hope so. I mean, but I really expected a lot more doctor. I expected him to be more present, and that was the really disappointing part of the whole deal. Was he was just never there the whole time. And
well, this is what's going to happen. This is what the industry is actually turning into. Even the good doctors, guys who have very good reputations, and if you were listening to the beginning of the show, they're relying more and more on technicians because FUE is so labor intensive. Yeah. Right. So the problem is your results are only as good as your weakest tech.
Right. And I talked to another guy down here, who represents another guy down here who I'm thinking about going to in the future, and he says that the guy does the extraction. So anything that involves cutting, the the doc thinks that he needs to be there for.
Well, I'll tell you this. Florida is an interesting state where it is still not illegal. And in certain states, it's not illegal for technicians to actually score the skin. They're trying to change that. So, and I know there's some legislation they're trying to pass in your state to make sure that this doesn't occur. However, I will say there are some technicians in the field who I would lay down for, who are better than doctors. So it's just the way that it is. So it doesn't mean that you're going to have a bad outcome, but it is fucked up that you had a bad experience. And what I would do is I wouldn't jump into going into having surgery with anybody new yet. Wait to see your growth. And if someone is claiming that the physician they're working for is doing all the work themselves, go in and watch a surgery. Ask them to go in.
They shouldn't have any problem allowing you in as long as the patient they're working on gives permission.
Right. And anybody dealing with hair loss, I mean, if I was sitting in a chair, unless I was getting, a penis enlargement, I would let anybody watch. You know what I'm saying? So that was a joke, Joe, by the way. Not that I need. It wasn't a joke that I actually need one. It was a joke that I would do.
Too late.
So
left the barn.
Yeah, go ahead.
One other thing I've heard is that with some docs are still pushing FUT. Some because if you get FUE too much, it can result in like a kind of all the scars kind of running together.
A confluence of scarring, yeah.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's very true.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay. It depends on the punch size, and it depends on, how many grafts are being moved.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was going to say, there's a, if you have extensive hair loss or there's a potential for extensive hair loss, and you can accept the potential of a less than perfect outcome in the donor zone, then, if you want to just bring it down to how best to maximize the donor zone for number of grafts over a lifetime, you're looking at stripping out first, as they say, and then turning to FUE.
Right. And he already had a strip.
Yeah, he had one strip.
And you could still, even though you had FUE, you can still go in and have another strip. It's always better to have the strips first, in my view, because there's no fibrotic tissue within the strip. Because once you go and have FUE, you could be causing some peripheral damage. But if you've only had 1,500 grafts, then your next strip should be pretty, not virgin, but pretty good.
Yeah, it still should be pretty good.
Yeah.
As long as I have plenty of donor hair in the back, I should be.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Right.
Now,
one of the things that you need to talk to the next doctor that does the procedure on you about, if it is going to be FUE, is you need to talk to him about how he distributes the extractions, because there's a problem with a lot of clinics that I see where they'll say take 1,500 grafts like you had, and
they'll take it from one spot.
It'll be in a very narrow strip of the donor zone.
You get that like 16.9 aspect ratio television type of look in the back of your scalp.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it looks horrible, and it's reckless because it completely alters the donor zone worse than most bad strip cases will do, because you can't hide it. There's nothing. If there's no hair there to hide, it just stands out. I know several people that are dealing with that right now from various clinics. So it needs to be a very wide distribution, because it's almost a case of homogenization, which is what Dr. Karay in Istanbul preaches about, reducing the density in a very evenly distributed pattern to where no particular area stands out as being more dense than the other. And I think that's a sound approach.
Of course.
Even with smaller sessions of, say, 500 grafts, you still want to take it from as wide a possible field of donor that you can, because you want to avoid those areas where it is excessively harvested.
Look, I am the biggest fan of FUE that there possibly is. I was the guy, again, to sound obnoxious, who really introduced FUE to North America through Ray Woods. However, I was speaking at an FUE conference, basically, a couple of months ago. And the year prior, I was asked to speak at the same conference. And I was asked, someone raised their hand, what type of procedure I would have to fill in my bald spot at this age in my life. I'm 50 years old, knowing everything that I know. And because of the quality of my donor hair, and because I know that I could only get 100% of that sweet spot with a strip, I said I would have a strip. And you should have seen the jaws drop.
Wow.
We're at FUE conference. They're paying me to speak at this conference about FUE. All right? But the truth is, and that's what I think is really sad about what's happening with the industry, is that the young doctors aren't interested in learning how to do strip. They're not interested in having the right staff to provide that, because a guy like you who may need more hair, who's willing to have a strip, you might be a better candidate to have a hybrid procedure. Whereas very young guys who only need a little hair and they may not have a history of tremendous progression, FUE alone could suffice, and then they could always shave, have the opportunity to shave their head closely and not worry about a linear scar. I think everyone should have these tools in there's a tough word for me, armamentarium, their toolbox.
Toolbox.
Yeah. So I can never say that word. So, all I can say is, look, you had a shitty experience. It doesn't mean you're going to have a shitty outcome. That's all. You have to kind of keep that in your head.
Yeah, separate the two.
Separate the two, because I've heard so many stories of guys who were like, oh, my God, even some of the best doctors, like the bedside manner sucked, I didn't like the staff, this and that, and then they're over the moon with their results. Yep. My advice is don't go back, but hopefully you're going to have a good outcome.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ideal. But if you see, you see the doc, you see him on TV, you see, him representing himself as the best, and you feel like you're going to get the best service. You're going to get the most professionalism and the most honesty. And when you don't get that, it's disappointing. But what are you going to do?
Well, it is. But again, it doesn't necessarily represent what your outcome is going to be, and you have to kind of keep that in mind. But you're absolutely right. You're unhappy, and you have to voice it, and you tell them how you feel, and take a shot over the bow and let them know, hey, this is serious shit. I expected something else, and this isn't what I was provided with. So let's hope that everything works out.
I did communicate that, and I was offered a free PRP treatment.
Well, what about lunch? You didn't get lunch?
At least a free lunch would have been. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded a coupon or something.
Well, listen, dude, we actually got to run, take another phone call. But I want you to let us know, call us back. And by the way, do not even consider having another procedure for at least another 8 to 10 months.
Yeah,
sure.
At least, maybe more. You're 4 months out. I would say 8 months would be fair, would be reasonable if you decide to go
from today.
From today, yeah.
So 1 year minimum.
1 year minimum. Absolutely.
To see how the full result.
100%.
Yeah.
You have to.
Okay.
You have to, because it could take 12, in some cases 14 months, which is unusual, but it happens, to really get to see the full result. But right about now, things should start popping. So you're still at the very, very early days.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
All right, man.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Joe. Thank you, Spencer.
You got it. Good luck.
Pleasure.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Let's take another phone call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Spencer. How are you?
It's not Joe from Staten Island.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did I hear you say penis enlargement?
Yes, I did. I said penis enlargement. I said I would allow anybody to watch any surgery I have except for my penis enlargement.
Well, let me be the first to say that I'll be honored to be there in your time of need.
Thank you. Not Joe from Staten Island.
I was waiting for that to come.
How you guys doing?
All right, man. What's happening?
Good. How are you?
Not much. Not bad. I mean, I want to say I went to the movie theaters
this weekend. I saw Batman vs Superman, and the travesty and cinematic experience, the misportrayal of a superhero. Superman's going bald, and I can't take it.
I know, right?
Well, we know he's going bald in real life, but did they actually show it?
Oh, dude, he's okay. When he's Clark Kent, he looks like a full head of hair because it's poofy and it's like dry. But when he's Superman, he slicks it back, he parts it, he wears it with pride. And I got two minds of it. One is that, Superman, and he's going bald, and that's great because it's, hey, it happens even to Superman. And then the other one is like, that's not the Superman I know. The Superman I know is perfect, but
right.
maybe I'm hypocritical in that sense.
Well, no, it is great. It does seem, but it's still he's the Man of Steel. I mean, so he only has one problem, and that's with kryptonite. It shouldn't be with male pattern baldness. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess we're learning things about Krypton that we never knew before.
That's true.
The guy, the guy is like, I mean, there's one scene where he's like, they put a harsh light over his head, and it's like I don't want to give anything away, but Batman's right there chained up, and he looks to the side and looks at Batman's cowl that he pulled off him, and when he looks at it, he has this like mean look, and you just see this wicked receding hairline, and I'm like, good for you, the actor made that. I mean, I don't know if he had participated, but that was his choice. When he's Superman, he's got the slick back hair, and there's a wicked part, and it's pretty aggressive. I wouldn't say it's like terrible, but you can tell it's happening. And I don't know, but he's got a great body. He's good looking, so I guess he's got all that going for him.
Yeah,
I tell you,
it's still odd. I'm really surprised they allowed that to happen.
It actually stood out to me more than it ever
Well, all
has.
of us balding freaks, it's going to stand out to you. Come on.
It was actually I accepted it in the first Man of Steel. I noticed it then, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, that's cool. It's no big deal.
But it was minor then, yeah.
It was minor, but this time it stood out to me so much to where I couldn't stop thinking, man, they really made a conscious decision on this, because I happen to know that, and you might actually know this too, that in Hollywood there is no weakness in hair. It's if there's weakness in someone's hair, it's because they're a villain.
Right.
That's the only time you see it. When
the portrayal of Superman is kind of
even guys that have recessed hairlines, they'll have a lot of Topic or Dermatch in their hair to really thicken it up. And in fact, someone that works with or used to work with Henry Cavill, I know him, and he has a full head of hair, and he confirmed. He said, "Yeah, when I'm on set, we can't show scalp."
But didn't George Reeves have like a receding hairline, if I remember correctly, from the original Superman?
I would say to a degree, but
not like Cavill, not like Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
It's worse.
And he also had no package. I don't know if you ever noticed that. I guess they couldn't show it on TV.
Well, I saw that, but I was too young. I wasn't yet mature enough to start, envying Superman's penis yet. So,
yeah, I didn't understand it because I saw, I understood anatomy, and there was just nothing there. So I guess
he's a Ken doll.
No, I guess they probably put a cup on him or something because they didn't want to show his cock on television.
Right.
Yeah, they probably had those things. And back then, I don't think their hair procedural things for fluffing it up during the camera was as extensive, their tools, as they are now. And back then, he probably just put one of those cans of, what do you call it, Simonize on his head, and that's like liquid oil or something, and slicked his hair. So it probably made it look even worse than it actually was.
Brill cream.
I was going to say Brill cream.
One of the
Dapper Dan.
Yeah.
Dapper Dan, yeah. One of the sweetest moments between me and my dad, you guys know I'm an actor, and it was when Bryan Singer did the Superman movie, and we were in like a Borders bookshop. This is before they closed down, and we're looking, and they show USA Today, the new Superman, and I go, "Hey, Dad, check this out, the new Superman," because my dad took me to Superman, and that left a lasting impact on me. It's part of the reason why I don't drink and certain ways I live my life, and so that and Star Wars, and so my dad, it's a thing between us, and I took my dad to that movie in Hollywood. But before that happened, I showed him the USA Today or whatever, the Newsweek, and I said, "This is the new Superman." And my dad takes a look at it, and he pauses for a second, looks down, and he looks up in a very slow manner, and he goes, "You didn't want to be Superman?" Like if I had a chance to be Superman.
It was so honest.
Like you had the opportunity.
Yeah.
That's
But,
awesome.
I mean, he doesn't know how Hollywood works, but he knows I go out. They all think that you can at least attempt for the job. They don't know that you don't even have it. They don't know that the way Hollywood works is you don't even get into those rooms. So it's not so much about like they'll see anybody and everybody. You have to have connections, and he doesn't know that. He just thinks there's Superman. You could have tried for the role, and I believe you could have got it. And one of the first things out of my mouth was I laughed. I go, "Oh, Dad," I couldn't play Superman. I'd love to, but I'm not tall enough. I'm not big enough. And I go, I don't have that hairline. And like now Henry Cavill comes out, and I want to say he has a worse hairline than me. I can't really say that for sure, but
dude, I mean, at least when I see you in the restaurant, you have a completely full head of hair. I mean, there's no visible hair loss.
It's really moody, and I make sure I'm standing above you at all times. You see that?
Well, I do see that, and I know. Believe me, when I feel the stare from the back when you're walking around us.
You always say that. I swear I don't never do that. You always say I'm looking.
You try not to, but you don't look in my face. But I feel it's like burning in the back of my head. You're trying to find the paint job.
What color are Spencer's eyes?
He doesn't know. Nice one. Aren't they like a bluish kind of a color? It's hard to tell. It is dark in there.
They are kind of like a puke green, I would say.
Puke green,
yeah.
Nice.
See, he's looking at your hairline when he's talking to you. Never looks you in the eye.
That's it.
I told him one time, I go, it's like when a big blonde with big tits walks in. She knows you're going to look at it. So I'm the personality where I won't look at it because I know you're looking for me to look at it.
No, he's very respectful, and also he gave us, he gave me. I happened to be in his restaurant last night. Was it last night? I think it was last night. Yeah,
I think it was a couple nights ago. See what's happening to me? And he complimented my hair, so that was nice.
Nice.
Yeah, Man of Steel. He's the hair of steel. That's what that is.
It's literally the hair of steel, man.
But it doesn't look like that. It looks like it's just lightly laying on your head. It looks very natural.
Thank you, but it is bulletproof.
I believe it. One of these days, I'm going to actually trip and like drop something on it and see if it glances off your head.
Oh man,
shatters.
Try to get a piece of sashimi out of there, man. It's going to be impossible.
So, sashimi, the wasabi mashed potatoes. That's it. Some good stuff. You got to bring Joe over. We got to show Joe some of this stuff.
Absolutely, man.